You may have seen her, the girl who likes like Monica Bellucci, the one who makes straight women question their sexuality. A former Miss Italia who doesn't just hold one face card, she holds the whole deck. Or maybe you caught her on reality TV, vibrant, magnetic, impossible to ignore. Or maybe you've never heard her name. In just a few months, she went from near anonymity to an international symbol. Not because she chased the spotlight, not because she had a whole strategy in place. This isn't the story of a beauty queen. It's the story of how a woman who doesn't even speak English gathered a worldwide community around love without labels, strength without spectacle, and the defiance of kindness in a place that tried to erase it. Her name is Zeudi Di Palma. She's 23, she's Dalian, she's unforgettable. And this is why. Not everyone starts with the same hand. Some are born with privilege, others like Zeudi learn how to build their own deck. She didn't grow up in safest and richest place in Italy. Naples carried an unfair image for a long time. And Scampia, a suburb in the far north of the city, was even more discredited. It has been called many things: dangerous, forgotten, feared. After movies and series like Gomorrah, it was framed as a mafia battleground. Zeudi's family moved there when she was 2 after her parents' separation. Her mom raised 3 children alone. Money was tight, often too tight. Sometimes Maria Rosalia had to go without food to make sure her kids could eat. Life wasn't smooth and peaceful, but through hardship, Maria Rosalia passed on quiet lessons that would stay in her kids' mind for life. One day, little Zeudi gathered her toys, sold them, and handed the money to her mom. She was just a child, which made this gesture even more memorable. Scampia had a huge impact on who Zeudi would become. It could have led her down a darker path, one that too many children from Scampia have taken. But Z knew that any decision led to consequences, and they should be carefully thought through. Otherwise, your destiny might shift drastically from where you wanted it to go. Scampia shaped Zeudi, not through tragedy and violence, but through courage and tenacity, through sacrifice, through her mother's example. Even now, when Zeudi talks about her neighborhood, she doesn't talk about crime or fear. She talks about choices, about how her mom gave her a strong sense of responsibility. So with that in mind, Zeudi made herself a promise. One day, she'd be the one taking care of her mother. And that promise, years later, would push her towards something bold, something that would change everything. 2020. Uncertainty, loneliness, helplessness. You know where we're going, right? We are in the middle of a lockdown. Zeudi, as well as many people, hit a rough patch. Even though most of the world had stopped, she took her first big step in her career. She tried Miss Italia. She was one out of 12,000 applicants. She didn't expect to win. She just wanted to explore, to connect, to challenge herself. And in 2021, she was crowned Miss Italia. She was only the 4th Neapolitan woman to win the national title. When she returned home, Scampia exploded. Crowds, cheers, fireworks. Zeudi is bringing real redemption to this neighborhood, her mom said. Especially to the district that's long been overlooked and unfairly judged. Journalists asked Zeudi what this crown meant to her. She said, "I've truly learned what sacrifice means. I know what it's like to put food on the table. And I know it's my turn to take care of my mother." When asked how it felt to hear her name during the final, her answer gave us a glimpse of who Zeudi truly is and her potential to change things around her. She said, "I felt like I was stepping into the role of representing the Italian woman, the new Italian woman of this millennium. Independent, brave, and strong." For once, the story of Scampia portrayed by the media was not about crime or despair. It was about victory, about a woman who wanted to make things better and make her mom proud. Winning Miss Italia gave her recognition, but she was representing an institution, not herself, and Zeudi had more to show. In December 2024, Zeudi entered the Grande Fratello house, Italy's big brother. She wasn't part of the main contestants who entered in September. She wasn't hyped, she wasn't cast to win. While others entered with hundreds of thousands of followers on social media and a career in entertainment, she walked in with 45,000 followers on Instagram. And one label, she's Miss Italia. You didn't need to be a chess player to see what production was planning, to understand that Grande Fratello wanted tension, flirtation, disruption. They knew what they were doing. Beauty can stir things up, and Zeudi was magnetic. They brought her in for the looks. They were not ready for the substance. What followed wasn't strategy or spectacle. It was something gentler and more dangerous. At first, it looked like friendship, but something deeper was growing. Something neither of them could hide. There is a full video of this story on the channel if you want to dive deeper. But here's what matters most. It took one video of Zeudi and another woman getting close, and the queer world started to notice. Grande Fratello isn't an international show, but people from over 130 countries tuned in to watch the relationship between these two, without being able to understand Italian. That's crazy. People started to gather, to translate, to subtitle, to post and to react, while they've never been a couple. Their relationship moved so many people that the fans gave the pairing a name, Zelena. This name quickly became a curse, but also with no clue about it, the beginning of something beautiful for Zeudi. After a lot of difficult incidents, Z detached herself from any relationship that wasn't only friendship. It gave her the space to really show who she was. Remember, she had no idea what was happening outside the house. But people saw everything, heard everything. She thought she ridiculed herself by pursuing a woman that misled her and hurt her multiple times. In reality, she just made people from outside fall in love with her. One day, a plane flew over the house, came for Zelena, stayed for ZDP. The community had picked its favorite, and it wasn't the drama, it was the heart. The Zelena fandom transformed into the Zeudiners. Day after day, it got bigger, only supporting Zeudi. They opened their eyes on who she truly was. She isn't just a model. She tattoos, beatboxes, plays the drum, she quotes philosophers 1 minute and the next she's talking in a baby voice. She gives breakfast in bed and opens door for others like a gentle woman. Then turn around and crushes everyone at football. She's widely talented. Just don't ask her to make pancakes. Bringing in Miss Italia was a flex for the show. They expected glamour, disruption, maybe a little chaos. What they didn't account for was depth. Zeudi wasn't a seasoned reality star. She'd done one TV show before. She was one of the youngest of the house. However, one of the most emotionally intelligent. They brought her in as decoration, but she ended up rewriting the entire dynamic. Grande Fratello seemed to resent the situation. They were not in control anymore. Their usual viewers, conservative Italians in the 35-45 age group, were not the ones holding the reins. For every vote, the chances of getting out for the contestants being mean to Zeudi was extremely high. But if you were Zeudi's friend, the fandom had your back. For example, Chiara, her best friend in the house, got saved many times against favorites contestants and even became the third finalist. Seeing this power, the show began a slow and what looked like a deliberate campaign to undermine Zeudi. Some aspects were subtle to an unaware audience, like changing cameras when she spoke about queerness, sex, and identity. But other aspects showed the world how permissive Grande Fratello can be. The first very serious event happened in December. One of the male contestants climbed into Zeudi's bed while she was asleep. He got under the blanket and began tickling her. She woke up startled and told him to stop. Later, she calmly explained why it wasn't okay, that no one should touch someone in their sleep without consent, that trauma exists, that boundaries matter. In most countries, he would have been expelled on the spot. But Grande Fratello? They gave it primetime airtime and let others frame Zeudi as dramatic. That alone was bad enough. But they didn't stop there. Zeudi never shied away from talking about her sexuality, but didn't really want to use a specific label. She had romantic relationship with men and women in the past. That should have been enough. Her story, her truth. No explanation needed. Nonetheless, whispers started to grow inside the house. Contestants called her furba, which means manipulative. They also said she was confused. Some implied she was using her queerness as a tool. Even when her mother visited and mentioned the LGBTQ+ community with pride, one contestant dismissed it as a little show. But what truly broke Zeudi happened on prime time. An ex-contestant, a straight man, barely an acquaintance, was handed the mic and a national platform to invalidate her identity and told millions that Zeudi was instrumentalizing her sexuality. No evidence, no context, just judgment broadcast live. That night, Zeudi burst into tears. She thought about leaving the house, not because she couldn't take criticism, but because this wasn't criticism. It was character assassination dressed up as commentary. She wasn't just being misunderstood, she was being framed on national television as someone using her identity to manipulate, and she wasn't even allowed to speak for herself. Production didn't imagine that the way they managed this whole situation for months only made the queer community angry and resentful, which ultimately made it more powerful and organized. While in many other countries these events would have never been allowed to happen, there in Italy it got even worse when the host of the show, Alfonso Signorini, a man with editorial power and political ties, took every opportunity to silence Zeudi. He wasn't impartial, he was part of the problem. He wasn't just a host anymore, he was a narrative weapon, and Zeudi was his target. And in a show built on control, he made it personal. Grande Fratello had crossed too many lines. But what they did next, that wasn't just slow, that was unforgivable. They brought her father on the show, the man who left when she was 2, the man she barely knows, the man she already made clear she didn't want to see. But Grande Fratello, in their pursuit of drama, had selective hearing. They said he wrote a letter, said he wanted to apologize. So they staged a scene, a live segment, in prime time. 2 separate rooms, he could see her, she couldn't see him, only hear his voice. Then came the question, do you want to talk to him? With the choice to say no. But this was live television, no time to think, no time to breathe, no safe space to process. She answered,
perché arrivare fino a questo momento? Come Miss Italia mi vieni e mi cerchi, adesso al Grande Fratello mi vieni e mi cerchi. Perché non cercarmi quando non c'è tutto questo?
Applause. And as the conversation unfolded, Zaudi's voice grew tighter, but she stayed calm and measured. This wasn't reconciliation. It was a performance, and she knew it.
Un padre non mette neanche in difficoltà la propria figlia in televisione.
More applause. Every word she said carried the weight of 100 she didn't. Then the host asked again, do you want to see him? And with one sentence, she made the moment hers.
Quindi gli voglio far vedere quello che sono io adesso senza che lui, ci sia stato nella mia vita.
And with that, she entered the room. She didn't cry, she didn't break. He shook his hand. I'm doing this for me. It wasn't a reunion, it was a statement. Grande Fratello tried to script a moment of redemption, but what the audience saw was a woman reclaiming her power. They saw a young woman setting boundaries in real time, not out of vengeance, but out of strength. Not for spectacle, but for herself. She didn't need to win the moment. She owned it, with clarity, with boundaries, and with love for the one who truly raised her. It was a low move from Grande Fratello, but it gave us a front row seat to who Zeudi really is. The courage she had been collecting since childhood, now on display in the most public way. Once again, she stood her ground. Once again, she didn't lash out. Once again, she taught a lesson to anyone with a heart open enough to receive it. Her brother said it best during the final.
Coraggio tra le persone e la tua incapacità di rancore.
In a show built on chaos and cruelty, she showed there was another way, something we rarely get to witness on reality TV. Outside, the world had already decided. They will take her to the final. A €50,000 prize was on the line. The kind of money that can change a life. In Brazil, they built spreadsheets and took night shifts to vote. On Discord and X, strategy sessions ran late into the night. Someone in Sardinia even offered free hotel night for Zaudiners. International fans flew to Italy, betting on the small chance they might catch a glimpse of Zeudi. Across languages and time zones, something beautiful had formed. A community built around one woman, and she had no idea just how deeply she had moved them. But she was about to find out. Zeudi didn't win Grande Fratello, but she walked out with something greater. She became the queer icon Italy never planned for, and perhaps never had. But let's be clear, she's so much more than her sexuality. Yes, she moved the LGBTQ+ community. Yes, many of them came because of one video with another woman. But she should never be reduced to that. She's a daughter, a sister, a friend. She can be masculine and feminine, delicate and powerful, childlike and wise beyond her years. People laughed with her, cried with her, saw themselves in her. Her gentleness wasn't performative. It was a choice and a lesson to us all. She raised questions about love, identity, faith and forgiveness, the kind that made people reflect on their own lives. There is a little bit of Zeudi in every Zeudiner. She didn't just survive, she didn't just endure. She stayed kind when it would have been easier not to. She didn't retaliate, she didn't fully collapse, she grew. And in doing so, she reminded people watching that their softness was not a flaw, it was strength. The kind of strength the world often forgets to value. Through it all, Zeudi stayed humble. She thought maybe a few people in Naples had voted for her. She had no idea the world was watching. Now that she's out of the house, she can see her international impact. The Zeudiners raised over 54,000 euros for her. They created video projects to thank her. One girl even brought a sign with Zeudi on it to Coachella. Others sent gifts coordinated with spreadsheets to avoid duplicate. Hashtag Tinder Zeudiner became a thing. Her fandom is here to stay and support her through her journey. Do you remember what was Zeudi's goal when she won Miss Italia?
Si prova che rappresenterò la donna italiana, la nuova donna italiana del nuovo millennio, una donna indipendente, coraggiosa e una donna combattiva.
Well, here is a comment from one of her fans. Zeudi represents a free woman, strong, respectful, feminine and feminist, with a rare elegance. Physical, yes, but above all, intellectual. That's what we love, that's what we support. Zeudi is making the change she was aiming for. She's only 23, with the world ahead of her. But whatever she chooses to do next, she's already changed lives, without ever meaning to. And that, in every way that counts, is a win. Maybe the story of Zeudi Di Palma isn't just hers. Maybe it's an echo to ours too. Messy, unlabeled, loving, and ready to be seen.